Well, in this video, I'm going to briefly go through the programs. So actually, it took me like 2 weeks to finish all of this development of this program. So it's very complicated. I'm not going to go through all of that. But basically, the program is going to contain, as I said, two parts. One is the main JavaScript file, and the other is those repeatedly used functions. Okay, so the main file is this convert EGP version V8 to V7. Okay, so if we go into this file, which is if I right click and show the sub steps, then it's going to show me the sub steps. Okay, so all right, so I'm just going to go through the big steps. So the first is to get the contents from the V8 EGP file. Okay, so then the next is that it's going to do two things. This one is optional, which is to save the original EGP version 8 files project XML to a local. So this is to save it so that we can when I'm developing this program, I can compare the project XML file of V8 versus the V7. Okay, so this is optional. Actually, it is not related to the conversion itself. So the second part is to get the data on configuration of this project from this version 8 DOM object. Okay, so this will be the second part. So this is to get the setting, but this is not to get individual components like the tasks configuration. No, it is to get the overall configuration for the whole project. Okay, so the third is to initiate a version 7 DOM. So this one will be based on, so we're going to load that prototype of this project file, and then we're going to turn that into DOM subject. And again, this is just a skeleton. There is no components inside. All right. So the next is that we are going to convert the version 8 components into version 7. All right. So before that, I think here we are. So after initiating this V7, we are also going to apply the overall settings for this project from the data we have from this version 8 DOM objects, and we're going to apply that to this version 7 DOM objects, right? So so to this part, actually the whole project setting, like who created it, when it was created, whatever, has been applied using the data from this version 8 file. But there is no component inside. So the next part is to add the components like the tasks, like the EG tasks or the shortcuts to Excel files, the notes, whatever. Well, and the final step is once all of these components are added into this version 7 DOMs object, and we're going to save this DOM into an EGP file, which will be the task, the target file. All right, so that's how the whole process works. Now let's go back to like this one, the first one. So the first one I said that I want to convert when I said I want to convert this EGP. So actually I have an icon here to indicate that in the descriptions I have enlisted the code for this function. Okay, so if in this node label there is a string and it was the brackets, that means that it is a function. Okay, and the code will be put there. So this is one situation. It would be like that. The second is let's take an example for this. Okay, so this is the first step. Again, it has code inside. If we view the descriptions, we will see the code there, which is this function. Okay, so there is another icon here to indicate. This one is to indicate it's not a link. It is to indicate that actually there are sub-steps within this, which is hidden, and we can right click and show these sub-steps. Okay, so it is a toggle, right? So when it is down, then actually you can toggle to hide the sub-steps. But anyway, so now we're going to show the sub-steps. Okay, so basically for this one, to make the version 8 DOM object, I have the code here. But here there are nodes to illustrate what this function called get XML from v8 EGP, this function is going to do. All right, so basically what it is going to do is that it's going to get the v8 project XML. All right, so for this particular node, actually there is no code and no details inside. It's just to illustrate that the first part is that we're going to get the project XML, which are read the XML into a string. So what we are going to do is that in this code, actually, we can see how it is achieved. So we're going to read the script of the project XML from the source zip. And remember that the source zip has been defined outside this async process, which has been defined up front here. Okay, so from this zip, we're gonna read the data as a text of this source XML file, which is the so source file, which is this project.xml within that zip file. So very importantly is that in this SAS EGP file, these project files, these project XML files, are all in the encoding of UTF-16, not UTF-8. So if you do not specify that, then you will have a bunch of very strange code that is unrecognized and is going to cause error, right? So it has to be read as the UTF-16 encoding. So actually, in the SAS the SAS CGP file, it is kind of a mess. You know, it is a mix of UTF-16 and UTF-8 files. So because this project.xml is a UTF-16 encoding file, so all of these prototype XMLs that I'm going to make and read, and these are the things that will be injected into that project.xml. So all of these files has to be, from the beginning, to be made in UTF-16 format. So it does not work that if you have a file, like you create a file in VS Code, because that will automatically have a file of UTF-8 coding, and then that file can now be read and input correctly. All right. So what I did is that it ended up I add a sample XML file here. So this file is actually empty. So every time when I'm gonna make a prototype file, I just copy this and rename that as the names I want to have, and replace this comment part with the code that I want to have for that particular prototype. Okay, but this part, remember that this part is only for the contents that I'm going to inject it into this project.xml. On the other hand, within this zip, remember that within these folders there are files like this code, the SAS code files, or there are EG test files, which are the XML files. These files are in UTF-8 coding. Yeah, so this is really confusing. So just to bear in mind that when we are reading the SAS code or making this EG task code, read or write, we should use the UTF-8 encoding. But for the project XML, using the UTF-16 encoding. All right, so let's go back to the process. The first is that we're going to get this XML string. The second is that we're going to clean this the string, because the string, again, it is inside is a lot of mass. For example, it contains a tag. Sometimes it's called a table, and that tag cannot be recognized by JS DOM and jQuery. That is a bug, I guess, unsolved. So it ended up that I have to work around and change that tag to a special name to avoid such errors. All right, so the clean task is going to do other things. For example, it is going to deal with those ampersand, the signs or whatever. Anyway, so the details of this clean XML string is actually described and listed in the function, which is called the clean XL string, which is in this function for XL editing. So if we expand this, we will see there is a function called the clean XML string, and there is a link between the two, so indicating that when I say this clean XML string, so it is going to point to this function. All right. Okay, so clean up, and then after that is going to make the cleaned up XML string into a DOM object using jQuery, so which will be the third part. So all of the code of this part are listed here. Okay, so now just for example, let's go into this clean XML string, which is defined here. So again, you will see that there are code here. So there is a sign to indicate that the code of the function is listed here. And also there is this sign to indicate that actually the sub-steps are hidden. Then we can show this sub-steps. And again, it's going to show that. So for this one, the first is that it is gonna rename the text, like the table text is gonna remain. And how it is to remain, it's gonna run a function called rename tag name table, which is here. Okay, so then the second is that it's gonna convert the self-closing tags. All right, so a self-closing tag, a self-closing tag is like this. Okay, it does not have the second part, unlike those traditional tags, which is you have the tag and then they have a slash tag, right? So this is a self-closing tag, but this one is not going to be well recognized by jQuery. And again, this bug is unsolved, so I have to convert convert this self-closing text to the what I call the old school HTML tags. All right. So again, the function is indicated here, and it points to a function which is here. All right. So after I rename the tables, convert the self-closing text, the third one I did is remove the comments because the comments are going to cause trouble when I read the DOM, when I make the DOM. All right, so this is just to illustrate how this clean XML string function works. I'm going to hide the substrings. I'm also going to collapse so that to make it succinct. Okay, so now this is for the first part, which is to get the to get the contents from the version 8 EGP file. All right, so the rest of that is similar. So I'm going to skip most of the part because each time it will be the same thing, that we can right click and bring up those hidden sub-steps and going to that. And if there is a function called, it is going to link to a function listed in these nodes. Okay. So for the next video, I'm going to focus on the contents, the components, like a task, an EG task, or whatever, and talk a little bit about that.